I've said previously that in 40 years of reporting on Australian natural disasters, I have never seen such a catastrophic event so politicised. As homes burned and lives were lost, Green politicians had a field day belting into the Prime Minister and the federal government for somehow being responsible for the fires. Their completely unscientific garbage was aided by some in the media who still want to believe that Australia can adjust our weather settings, which is impossible. And Green groups, they've played their part, the same aggressive cards being played during the crisis as well. And just as the koala has become, I guess, the symbolic bushfire victim of the season, the opportunistic doomsayers are predicting its eventual demise as well. You see, the worse the scenario, the more necessary it is to these people to adjust the weather through carbon dioxide emissions. Today, everywhere you looked, there were stories in news websites and on television where animal carers were predicting that the koala will not just be endangered, which it is not when we start counting numbers, but possibly extinct. There was a bloke sure of it on Channel 9.
I'm very concerned that koalas, up until now, have been classed as vulnerable, but we may have pushed them to being endangered off the back of these fires.
But only vulnerable in certain areas of Australia. The World Wildlife Fund, it came up with a long list of soon-to-be endangered animals as well. Certain state ministers are spreading the same kind of rubbish, and it goes on. But as we were told last night on this program, this is what the government's expert panel have advised the minister.
Look, it's important to note that koalas are not endangered across the whole country. They're fine in Victoria, they're fine in South Australia where they're not actually usually found. We've got a process of threatened species scientific committee listing, which means effectively that the government takes the advice of experts. And given that we don't know what numbers of koalas have been lost in this event, we'll have to wait and see. We do know that the population is struggling. Of course it is. Its key, one of the areas of its key habitat has been affected. But across the country, there are other areas of koala habitat that are just fine.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it costs or how hard it can be, you can't lose the koala. Now, can you explain to us...
We're not going to lose the koala.
Yeah, good. We won't lose the koala. And the real scientists, not the eco-warriors, are backing that appraisal. In fact, a report from a parliamentary inquiry in July last year recommended that, in South Australia's case, it should declare koalas overabundant, and culling was even being debated. But amidst all this convected doom, this story takes the prize for absolute green stupidity. A group called the Koala Relocation Society, yes, there is one, has launched an online petition to have koalas sent to New Zealand. Now, for starters, the words koala and relocation are an anathema. Koalas don't relocate well at all. But SBS reported that this change.org petition was up and calling for urgent action, arguing New Zealand's ecosystem is ideal to ensure the long-term survival of the koala. And they've got 28,000 hectares of eucalypts, their statement boasted. Gee, that's a clincher. And they claim koalas are functionally extinct in Australia. What? Why? Because you can't find them in a tree in Bondi, maybe? And wouldn't you know it, 7,000 people have signed on to the campaign. One online supporter said, keep them alive. Bring over kangaroos as well, said another. Of all the balmy ideas floated through this bushfire period, the trophy goes to the Koala Relocation Society, a mob of complete dingbats.